Okay, I'm gonna do this video really quick. My hands are dirty. I don't know if you can see. I'm pouring molds back here, so it's a Sunday, so it's kind of what I do. Noelle's at the studio, tending to a party. But one of the things that I've noticed in downtown Tacoma the last couple of weekends is the amount of people down there. Now, make sure you join the Discord down in the description box below. Excuse me. Now, one of the things, I have clay everywhere, sorry. One of the things that I've noticed is that downtown Tacoma, typically, you won't see a lot of people during the day, right? You will see people on a Saturday. Let me clarify. Typically, especially in the warmer months, you'll see people downtown along Pack Avenue, so right there by UW. So between where UW starts and those shops and things like that on Pack Avenue, and where the museum campus is, you'll see some people over there, but you'll see most of the people over on that side of Pack Avenue by UWT, and you'll see a lot of activity right in that area up until where you get to Zeke's Pizza, and then it kind of dies off. You don't see a lot as you go further in. Hold on one sec. So of course Zayda's home with me while Noelle's doing the party at the studio, asking for candy. But anyway, so once you get past Zeke's Pizza and you start to head to the convention center area, Tolfason Plaza, all of that, it just kind of dies down. It really just kind of doesn't do much. You may see a little bit of activity around the Children's Museum, but really not a lot. As you get closer to McMenamins, depending upon the time of day, you'll see a little bit of activity, obviously, because McMenamins does bring a lot of people. It's a very trendy place. So you'll see quite a few people. But that's not where I saw the pockets of people. In fact, and I checked to see if there was some sort of an event that was going on, because sometimes you'll have events that are going on someplace downtown and it leads to the traffic type situation. So when there's the farmer's market going on, traffic is kind of a little bit more than normal. Concerts at the Dome, maybe, or if there's an issue on the interstate and they have to feed through downtown, you may have some issues there or something. But there wasn't anything. I didn't find anything that was going on that was out of the ordinary or something special or something going on at the theaters, because we have a theater district. Nothing like that was going on. And yet there was a lot of vehicle traffic through downtown, more than normal. It's not a lot when you're looking at it and comparing it to Portland or Seattle, but more than normal. And the amount of pedestrian traffic was quite a bit more than normal downtown. Not on what was on Pack Avenue, but not by the shops. This was more over towards and if you're familiar with Tacoma, more towards Keys on Main, where the old spaghetti factory is, that stretch. There were more people walking about than normal. And it was a pretty decent size of folks. And one of the things I think is happening, okay, so sorry, got an alarm, come on. But one of the things that I think has happened is the fact that people are bored and they're tired of staying inside their home. You know, you can blame it on the weather. The weather has been a little bit crazy. I don't know what's going on with that, sorry. The weather's a little crazy, and so when it's no longer bad weather or it's not raining, people want to get out. Maybe, right? Maybe that's the case. But it could also be due to the fact that more people are actually living downtown. This is one of those things that city leadership has been wanting, is to have more people milling around, walking around downtown. Now, Olympia, on the other hand, is a much smaller city. It's the capital of Washington. And when you look on a day-to-day basis, like on just a regular weekday, you have quite a bit of people walking around downtown Olympia. It's the seat of government. There's thousands of workers who are right down there, so it makes sense. Tacoma looks similar to that. Now, not quite what you see in Bellevue, and surely not what you see in Seattle in terms of people walking around, but it basically looked like what Olympia does on a normal weekday. Now, some people would laugh at that and say, what's the big deal? It's a big thing because of the simple fact there have been times when you hardly see anybody at all in that section of downtown. You don't really see a lot of people walking around or anything like that. It's just kind of not the case. But I've noticed the last couple of weekends, you see quite a few people roaming around, walking around downtown, and it's not in those typical areas. So apparently, the amount of apartments that are being developed, and trust me, they're not even done, right? Trent Development, which is going to be one of the biggest, hasn't even broke ground yet. If they have, it's not much, right? There's still so many projects that have yet to really do much, and you're seeing quite a bit more people around, walking around downtown, because the few that have actually opened, and they fully opened, the buildings that are completed, it's really showing the results downtown. Now, obviously, not all of these are people who live down there. Hold on one second. Okay, actually got a package. But you're seeing quite a few people downtown, and it could be due to not just people who live down there, but people who are visiting the city, checking the city out, and things like that. Now, with that said, I do think there's going to be more people in that middle section of downtown. Because you remember I had done videos talking about so if you look at downtown as, I don't know, this pencil, okay? At the end back here is, let's say, where the town center is, the brewery district's over there. On this end over here is basically where you have McMenamins. You can probably throw the theater district into this section over here. All of that, right? By itself, McMenamins draws a lot of people. If the old city hall ever gets completed, you're going to even have more of a hub of activity over in that area. But in this middle section, there's not a lot. I mean, there's office buildings and things like that, but there's not a lot. But you're now starting to see little projects happen right in the middle section of downtown, right? One project I'm actually am going to be a part of. I can't say what it is just yet. And it's in the middle section of downtown. I can't say what it is just yet. There's one project that's probably for certain that will happen. I mean, again, I'm not the one that approves things. And then there's another piece that I'm just trying to figure out what to do with. But you have one, Kelly's Olympian is opening in what I call the middle section of the downtown core. Now, again, when you look at downtown Tacoma, it goes kind of up the hill. So it's, we're talking only just in a few streets here, from Broadway to Commerce to Pack Avenue is kind of what I'm looking at. I'm not talking about all the other stuff, because as you go farther up into downtown and you go into where a lot of the city buildings are and government buildings are, that's different. But I'm talking about this one common area. And you have Kelly's Olympian, which is actually going into that particular space. In fact, the people that owns Kelly's Olympian, they own several buildings downtown. They came from Portland, and they literally bought up 5 buildings in downtown Tacoma. 5 buildings. These aren't cheap buildings, by the way. I mean, these are buildings of several stories. So they bought them outright. Anyway, so Kelly's Olympian, where that is, they own that building. Now, once Kelly's Olympian opens, again, it's kind of like a tiny McMenamins, right? A tiny McMenamins. And the reason why I say it's a tiny McMenamins is due to scale. If you look at McMenamins downtown, it's the old Elks Temple. Big, huge, giant building. I think 7 or 8 stories tall. It's a big building. And down below it has a venue for live music, and I think it can hold 500 people or something. I can't remember. A huge amount of people. Kelly's Olympian, when it does finally open, it's going to be, and it's going to be next year, it's going to have where you can eat and all of that type of stuff, but also it has a area for live music, and it holds a couple of hundred people as well. So it is going to be a big deal. This is in this, what I call the center of downtown. In that middle, I guess, the middle section there. Also, in talks is basically a nightclub. Is trying to get into that same, just literally a couple of streets over, that same area. A nightclub is trying to form. And that nightclub, I don't want to go too much into detail because I don't think it's really public knowledge yet. So I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail, but you're going to see a lot of activity. Just based on the type of nightclub that it is, you're going to see a lot of activity. And it's based off of what Tacoma is kind of known for, and it does well with this type of music. But you're going to see a whole lot more people. Now, the nightclub is more of a night thing. I get that. But, and Kelly's Olympian is kind of anytime. But you're definitely starting to see a whole lot more activity right in that center section of downtown. And it's very interesting. So the fact that I'm going to try to plug this in without it falling. Then I got to get back to my bowls. But the fact that we're seeing quite a bit of activity downtown now, and there's not some sort of a special event going on, it's a very good sign. Very good sign. Keep in mind, there's a lot of little businesses that have actually opened, right? A lot of small businesses have actually popped up in different places downtown. And so that has a lot of people curious about downtown, where to go, what to check on, what to do. There's one business that everyone has been waiting on, and this guy who is going to own and operate this restaurant, it's a chicken and waffle place. People keep asking him, when are you going to open, when are you going to open, and you're supposed to open at this time. And he takes it in stride and makes fun of it because people are saying you're taking too long. But we haven't even gotten to that point yet. And he's also, that business is going to be in what I call the middle section there. So that has really generated so much buzz because people are like, ooh, the food looks great. And that has already generated enough buzz to where I think you're going to see a lot of people start to say, yeah, downtown's the place to be in terms of hanging out. But I did the last couple of weekends. So this weekend, this Saturday, the Saturday before, I've noticed quite a bit more people downtown in areas that they normally do not. You don't see the crowds. And it seems to be picking up. We'll see. You know, normally I take a bunch of stuff down to the studio on Saturdays. And so we'll see. Next time I'll go and I'll check and see if it's the same thing. And maybe that is the new normal, which is going to be great. It'd be great, especially in the summertime. Summertime, you'll see a whole lot more people downtown anyway. But if this is kind of what it's like, then I think this is an amazing thing. Still, again, there's not a lot of things that have actually opened up. One building that I'm really anxious to see open, believe it or not, is a residential building. It's the actual old Washington Bank building. It's the big, tall building downtown. They're converting the whole thing into apartments. They've been working on that for quite some time. I'm really curious about that and when it opens. I wish they would have had a space down on the bottom floor for a restaurant or something like that, or a retail space, because it did have a nightclub down there and all of that stuff. Emblem nightclub used to be there. They closed that down. Emblem claimed they were going to come back if they found a good space, but they never did. So we'll see. But anyhow, it would have been great if they had actually done something with that bottom space, but they're going to make it more so for their residents. Very curious about that project. Very curious about the Trent development project because it's just so darn massive. It's such a big of all the projects downtown, it is one singular big giant building. And just the amenities it's going to offer, it's going to be a whole new level that, and I've said this before, a whole new level that Tacoma's not really used to. And then finally, the Tacoma Town Center, whenever that gets started, would be great. I think that once it finally gets started, and supposedly the developer and the city are still working on specific issues and things like that. I don't know. But finally, when that project gets started and get completed, I think it's going to be interesting. Now, what's going to suck is if they don't have a plan to bring in retail, right? When you look at most developments, they have a lineup of retail that's going to be coming in. So if you look at Lakewood Town Center, for example, they have a whole lineup of everything that's going to go in there, right? If you look at General Growth Properties or Simon Properties or whatever, they're mall developers. They already have a whole list of stores that are going to go into a particular place. It's built for that. What's going to suck is if they build it and they have no plan for retail and they're just saying, well, whoever comes in, cool. That, I think, is going to be a problem because we're back in the same situation that we were in before. We have the retail space, but nobody can really afford it. And you have to be able to prove to retailers, big chains, that downtown Tacoma can support it. And unless you have a good reputation bringing in those types of stores, it's going to be difficult. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But those three projects are very interesting to me, and see what actually happens. I think Trent Development, which is going up right in that middle section of downtown as well, is going to be a big heavy hitter. I think that once we start seeing those projects completed, downtown's going to be different. And again, like I spoke to there was somebody within the city that I spoke to. They said, we're never going to have a true mall downtown, but what we're going to have is a lot of retail space spread all over downtown from these developments. And you're going to see stores slowly go into those. So you're going to have shopping spread all over downtown as opposed to having a mall where everybody's focused in one key area. It's kind of just spread all over, which is probably a lot better. You don't have to, if malls do finally completely die out, you don't have all that space you have to deal with. Some cities struggle to keep malls going, to be honest with you. Indianapolis is a very big city. It has a mall downtown, Circle Center Mall. It's had a hard time keeping that mall active. Even though it's a huge convention city, it has a lot of people living downtown, a lot of people work downtown, it struggles. So that is the one thing that probably would not be a good thing for Tacoma. So it could be that this is the way to go, that the town center helps hold the bulk of some of the bigger places, and then some of these smaller places kind of just fill in. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to join the Discord down in the description box below. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and comment. And until next time, I will see you. Take care.